Now, in the wake of last Tuesday's attack on the Nigerian Defense Academy, many Nigerians, including experts on security matters, have been trying to figure out just how a bunch of ragtag terrorists managed to breach what ordinarily should be considered a maximum security environment. And to add to the confusion and interest, early warning pointers to such an attack had been manifest, considering the worsening security situation in Kaduna State and its environs in recent times. Well, we will now try to get a better understanding by speaking to two security analysts, Dr. KABIRU ADAMU, Managing Director of Beacon Security Consulting, who is in Abuja, and FEMI Dare, Managing Director of Link Stride Security Systems Limited. Gentlemen, it's good to have you. Welcome to Newsday. I'll start.
Thank you, McKinney. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'll start with you, Mr. KABIRU ADAMU. We're just discussing with our correspondent on the ground, and we're still trying to get some understanding. Perhaps you can shed light on this. What could be the possible motive for this departure from the norm? It's quite an audacious attack to go straight to the Defense Academy. Some would even call it a suicide mission.
Exactly, and that is why at this stage I'm not, reaching any conclusions. The obvious perpetrator, which is the bandits, perhaps know better than to carry out such an attack, because it's easily predictable that the military would respond in a manner that would make it almost impossible for them to operate in that state any longer. So it begs the question, who is behind the attack? And I'm hoping that the investigations that would follow this national embarrassment would reveal who it could be behind the attack. If I'm going to hazard a guess, there are several motives. One is already apparent, which is criminal. And like your correspondent mentioned, the families of the abducted person have been contacted, and supposedly monies have been demanded for ransom. But then again, in my field, the field that we operate, this could be a cover for other things. So a proper investigation that would look at the forensic details around the attack, forensic details before the attack, and even incidences that may have occurred within the academy would give us an indication of what could have happened. And now the dynamics of the security challenges in Kaduna are so complex, and they could provide perhaps a lead to those that are investigating into who or what may have carried out this attack. At this stage, honestly, I'm not ruling out anything. It's audacious, and if we just do what I hear everybody doing, thinking it's the bandit, then we may, in the process, lost relevant and vital information that could lead us to what exactly happened on Tuesday.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mr. Adamu. Let's move on. Mr. Dare, are you there? Mr. Dare, okay, so should we not be a little bit worried, seeing as this audacious attack has happened? We have lots of issues with security all over the country. What would you recommend would be the steps to take in order to not have situations like this occur in the future, and also to deter any future ragtag band of terrorists who want to make any more audacious moves elsewhere?
Well, I think the primary reason for this conversation is for us to also educate ourselves and also try to do some basic information in the public space. It's just a big embarrassment for also the experiencing such an attack. Despite the investment over the years this government has put into security. From the basic elementary part of security, you consider there are basic things. You have to first look at the asset, the vulnerability, and the threat, which is where you now come and define what your risk element is. I don't think we've been able to, in the last couple of years, been able to identify the risk element in our security architecture in this country. Over the years, there's been cases of compromise, and there's not been an intentional purpose of government to investigate the security architecture in details. Banditry, in my opinion, is flourishing today in our country because a lot of people I might be wrong, are also part of the scheme, even within the armed forces. So I think if you have a structure, the Nigerian Defense Academy is decimated in such a manner, as a national environment in this country, it goes beyond what we all are looking at the moment. You know, if you ask me if the bankers can be the end of banks and bankers who work in the bank, their account numbers can be checked, this account can be checked to see if they're familiar with any form of money.
Okay.
Why are the military and
Mr. Dare, permit me to take it from there and direct it to our other panelist, Mr. Adamu. He was mentioning an assessment. His audio wasn't as clear as we would have liked, but he said, you know, from what I gather, threat, asset, and vulnerability and risk. You know, all this analysis, where is it pointing to? Because at the end of the day, we need a strategy that works. We seem to have been making headway, what with 1,000 plus surrendering, and now we have this. Where do we go from here?
Okay, first off, I think it's very important that I state categorically that one incident should not be a reason for concluding on any assessment. So basically, yes, it's worrisome. Yes, it's concerning that a hard target like the NDA was attacked. But in doing a monthly assessment, as an example, or a weekly assessment, or even a general assessment of the threat profile in Kaduna, one incident is not likely to significantly change that threat profile. Having said that, where do we go from here? As far as I'm concerned, someone dropped the ball. This is a high-profile institution, a hard target where our, the top officers are being trained, and it does have a reputation. And now that reputation has been violated, as it were, it's been infringed. So there needs to be a message. We need to send a message to whoever is the perpetrator of that attack that you have crossed a line, and that is a line that no other person should ever cross again. Of course, I'm not in any way suggesting that the attacks on civilians that has been ongoing in the state should be condoned. All I'm saying is that this is an elevated attack that does not only touch Kaduna State or even the military, it touches on our national profile, our standing in the Committee of Nations, and so we should respond as such. Frankly, I would have thought that by now, a National Security Council meeting or other meetings of such level should have been held to discuss this issue and then to respond accordingly. Now, with specific regards to some of the elements that was mentioned by my co-discussant, those are elements that you do before such an incident. Now, this incident has happened. What is absolutely important is to do a review and ask an investigative committee should be set up to look into the incident, identify who, I'm told that there are CCTVs, and I'm also told that the persons who were manning the CCTV were probably asleep when that incident was happening. So those are the kind of investigations. What is the integrity of defense around that academy? Why was the integrity not enhanced when neighboring locations were being attacked? Not too long ago, the School of Forestry was attacked. And then even before then, several schools along that Zaria route were attacked. So it was, frankly, a simple conclusion that the NDA could have been attacked. And just like you rightly said in your opening remarks, there were early warning signs that indicated that the NDA could be attacked. So how come the various components of security for the NDA were not enhanced? And I'll quickly mention some of these components: physical security, processes, and then the humans. Let's remember that this is a military formation academy, and I'm almost certain that there should be a deployment of military personnel to protect that academy. Now, why were they not on their guards? Like I said earlier on, the attack is brazen. But for me, what is even more brazen is the fact that they were successful in the attack. You can imagine them coming and then escaping with, or being able to adopt someone that is within that institution, and not only doing that, going away with him. So that for me is even more shocking. If they had been killed while they attempted the attack, then of course I would say yes, the security posture of the academy up to date. So all of these components, the physical component, the processes, and then the human component would come out during the investigative period. What my colleague mentioned, as far as I'm concerned, should have taken place while the building was being set up or periodically. In this instance, there is a breach, and we need to identify why that breach occurred, and more importantly, use it as a benchmark for other formations around the country. Because let's remember that this has happened. It's been happening in the Northeast, and I am not ruling out the fact that it could happen in other locations as well.
All right, let's move on. Mr. Femi Dari, let's talk about the abduction of the officer. Now, we're trying to speculate as to what exactly the terrorists were trying to gain from the building. And I'm just wondering if you could speculate on that with us.
Well, it's been a case of too many abductions for too long, and they just, try to express their own opinion that exposing our vulnerability as a country and as a people. Where we did not see this approach from the basics, which in my opinion is if you cannot anticipate crime, there's no way you can stop it. Anticipating what could happen actually gives you the basics of how you can actually mitigate crime. You don't know, for example, a building and leave your doors open when you have the keys to lock in it. Which brings me to what Doctor was saying a while ago. Routine is very important when it comes to security checks. And when somebody is dropping it because they're not used to routine. Routine could be boring, but at the end of the day, there's a reason for that. When people are trained to know that the reason why you have a CCTV camera is not a decorative accessory, and it's because you are anticipating the possibilities of being able to react and respond to threats. If people are complacent in their duties, and you have this situation where whoever is assigned to monitor that whoever is assigned the responsibility does the job as he should, then you're going to be having this kind of problem.
Yes.
It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Indeed.
We have too many of these issues for too long, and one is tempted to think that money is playing a very big role in this, in all of this. With the greed for money and people sacrifice their professionalism on the altar of getting rich syndrome and getting rich very quickly is something we should worry about, especially when it comes to security.
Yes.
And a country without security, there's no person who want to come to your country. Everything is tied to security.
Thank you.
Hunger and starvation we are experiencing today is tied to insecurity in our country. So we need to look at security, take it very seriously.
Indeed.
So we can attract foreign investment, have good supply, food supply to our people.
Okay.
So the issue of complacency should be addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Femi Dari. Thank you so much. Sorry, apologies, your audio hasn't been as crisp as we would have liked it, but thank you for giving us your time, Femi Dari and Mr. ADAMU on Newsday.